Welcome to the good life. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Benny.
Hi there. Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to you. Well, I should say
Right.
good morning, good afternoon. Well, you're wearing, oh, wait, is it Halloween?
It is, but okay,
it is. Yes,
yeah.
yes,
And
yes.
we'll bring in our guest because he's all excited too.
It
So let's
won't.
bring in Dan.
My kids won't come in pestering for me to take them around the local neighbourhood for probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we're safe. We're safe.
Safe. Okay, hang on, Danny. We're going to bring you on in just a second. Everybody's all excited.
Oh, there he is. He's
All
back,
right.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's
Okay.
back. Hi, everybody. For those of you
Love
joining
Zoom.
us in radio world, my hands are waving to you in the video world of YouTube. Well, welcome everybody. Sue Lundquist here. Benny, good morning. Happy Halloweeny. Can
Thanks.
I say that?
Yes, you can say whatever you want. It's your show.
I can. I absolutely can. Okay. Well, first of all, let's just set the intention and the prayers for everybody tonight to be super safe.
Yes.
Really watch your surroundings.
Mhm.
Please watch your surroundings. Those that are out driving, there's little people and big people walking around. And
Are you referring
sometimes
to
they
me? What? No, I'm not going to be out. What? No.
little people and big people walking around. So let's just be mindful and keep
Yes.
your hands on the little kid.
Mhm.
There's been so many stories, of parents losing kids and
Right.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's,
Oh no.
yeah, in the dark or being hit or something.
So
go ahead,
I know,
Danny.
so you were going to ask me what I am this year. I can give it out now, unless you want to wait for the photos, because I have to get into costume. It's behind me and it's very warm. So
Okay, well, Danny doesn't understand
Okay.
Yes, of course I want to
well,
know,
I go
'cause
above and beyond every year,
Every
Danny.
year.
I've won a few times here at the radio station group. We have 4 other stations, and there's a lot of people that participate. So I go all out. I mean, I really do. And
Oh,
Sue
yeah.
knows from way
Good.
back in the day.
Good.
So I'll give you a couple clues. We'll make it fast. It was a very popular movie last year. It was liked and disliked. It dealt with drugs and an airplane. Any other hints there? Need some more?
Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, bingo!
Oh, really? Okay.
Hey!
Okay.
Got it. Yes. So my bear outfit is down here. I got some little teeth. I brought in a bag.
Well, because you said it
Here, I'll
was
show you.
warm, I was like, no way. Is it Cocaine
No.
Bear?
Here's the red bag
Oh,
from the
red bag.
movie, right? And then the bear
Oh,
outfit's
that
in
is
here. Yep. I
awful.
got my teeth. I'm all ready to go.
Oh,
How many years in prison is that then?
all right, you guys, let's get to business. Benny, thank you so much, you guys. Welcome back. Sue Lundquist here, obviously. Formerly the Gratitude Cafe. It's still the same message. It's Clarity with Sue. It could be the Gratitude Cafe. You know what, guys? It doesn't matter what adjective it is. It's about sharing love, education, and really providing tips and tools for you to create that best self for you, however that shows up in your life. And if you're not showing up, then allow me and my guests to kind of be that squeaky wheel and that educator for you to help you get back to homeostasis, to self-regulate, to give you the tools to self-regulate. And quite honestly, you can do it yourself. You really can. And we're going to be talking to a wonderful guest today. And thank you for joining us across the pond.
Yes, not just a pond. There's a big piece of land.
Big
about
piece of
3,000 miles
land.
across.
I know. You know what? We could just kind of jumped in. Danny, would you? I could go through the whole formal bio, but you know what? And my audience knows this. We want to get to know you. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to let you tell us about your why, where this all came from, because you've got a couple babies in the book world that have been pretty impressive, but I'm going to let you
Thank
take
you.
the stage, love.
Yeah. About 15 years ago now, I had a really nasty paragliding accident. Paragliding was the absolute center of my life. And if it was a good day for flying, you would find me flying somewhere over southern England. And one day, the canopy just collapsed. I was flying over the edge of the Cotswolds, which is these beautiful hills, just on the edge of Wales, between England and Wales.
Wow.
Canopy collapsed, and I just plunged towards the hillside. And luckily, I landed on my feet. But unluckily, the lower half of my right leg was driven through the knee and into my thigh. So as you can imagine, this was an awful situation to be in. And, I was lying there completely unable to breathe. I genuinely thought for a few moments, well, this is it. I'm just dying. There's nothing I can do. And in that moment, I remembered a form of meditation that I'd learned when I was about 16 or 17 years old. I'd been taught it at school, and I'd used it off and on over the years to cope with kind of the usual stresses and strains of life, exams, job interviews, things like that. And I suddenly remembered it, and I just began to focus on my breathing, just the sensations, but of course there was no breathing because I'd been completely winded. But I managed to force myself to take one breath, and I just focused on the air as it flowed into my body and as it flowed out again. And so suddenly I was breathing again. I was hit by the most enormous pain imaginable. So I used the breathing really to kind of breathe into the pain. Now, that sounds like completely crazy, but it sounds like the worst thing you want to do. Surely you just want to push it away and pretend it's not happening.
That's a metaphor for life right there.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But amazingly, I'd heard that meditation had been used for pain relief. So I began to focus on my breathing, focus on the ebb and flow of the pain, and gradually the pain began to diminish. It didn't go completely. It was as if it was kind of outside of me and wasn't really happening to me. And this allowed me to kind of regain control of the situation. Simple things like picking up my cell phone, phoning for an ambulance, calling for help, just generally keeping things together. Eventually, they took me to hospital, and I was to spend the following month in hospital while they rebuilt my leg. I had 16 wires and bolts going through one side of my leg, through a piece of bone, out the other side. It was horrible. It was absolutely awful. And they, it was basically this was, if you can believe it, like cutting edge surgery and treatment. It had come just out of the experimental stage. The process was used what was called the Taylor spatial frame. It was cutting edge at the time, but of course, if you got 16 wires and bolts in your leg, it really hurts, and it hurts all of the time. So I used mindfulness meditation to help me cope with the pain, and much to my surprise, I managed to reduce my consumption of painkillers by about 2/3. And painkillers are often quite addictive substances, so it's really good to, if you can, reduce painkiller consumption, and I managed to do that. The doctors, understandably, were always offering me kind of anti-stress medicines, antidepressants, because I look really unhappy.
And in a lot of pain. But that's a good metaphor for life, right? I mean,
yeah.
As
Absolutely.
you're telling the story, and you were forced to be in the bed. I mean, obviously you can't move, but we can have that conversation with people that are in their storm right now, right? And they still have to get up and out of bed and go to work and provide for the family or whatever it is that's going on in their life. And to be able to provide breath.
Yes.
And we're going to get deep into that conversation, give some tips and tools for that. But I want the audience to see your book. Will you hold up your baby? Where'd it go? There it is. Okay? Deeper Mindfulness. Yay.
The new way to, do you know what? I keep forgetting the title. Isn't that awful?
The new way to rediscover calm in a chaotic world. Now, guys, the chaotic world can be wherever you are in life, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And creating, and something you said, Danny, when you were talking about your accident, obviously you're in a position where you get into your accident after paragliding, you've crashed, and you're in a situation now where you basically, there's nowhere to go. You have to self-regulate, right?
Yes.
So there's that little moment right there where people, you have to self-regulate, or you're going to choose to go down a different hole.
Yeah.
Or you're going to say, no, I want to be in this pain, because, there's people in it's that, is it psychotherapy? It's the psychology of that pain. And then your body becomes addicted to those chemicals that are being released because of the drama that's happening, right? So how do we get people to step over that hurdle to say, whoa, 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 you're worthy of calm, you're worthy of love?
Yeah. Do you know what? It's not really a question of persuading people, because deep down they know that. You actually take small practical steps, each day, each moment, very small practical steps, because motivation will arrive after you've already started. One of the great paradoxes of mental distress is you never feel like helping yourself. You never feel like this is the moment to help yourself. So what you need to do is a small, incremental, practical step. It is as simple, as making yourself a cup of tea or coffee, stepping outside, taking a few
It's the
breaths,
micro steps, right, that you can build on. It's just,
yeah.
To those that
thing
want to
you can
jump
do-
into the massive ocean, which I used to do too. Go ahead.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is try and make a big step forward, because it will seem insurmountable, and you will quite possibly fail partway through, and then you'll become even more disheartened and disillusioned. So you take small, tiny steps, and each step re-energizes you. It doesn't. Each step takes a small amount of energy and motivation, but it gives back slightly more energy and motivation. So it's a question of putting yourself into a virtuous cycle, rather than being trapped, somewhere on the ground floor, or trapped in a negative cycle. And that's
trapped in that
most important
negative
thing
cycle.
you do.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, never try and take big leaps forward. I mean, it's great if you can. People who are really positive and enthusiastic can always make big steps forward. But if you're in the depths of despair, little things are what ultimately is going to change your life for the better.
Beautiful. Thank you. How can we educate and talk to the audience about what's going on in the world? There is a ton of despair, fear, brutality, unfortunately. I've had clients that, even when there was the whole vid thing going on, well, what do you do, Sue? How do I keep myself from being wrapped up in that fear and being scared? And I mean, obviously mindfulness, your beautiful book, and meditation and breath work. And I would also ask the question, what would love do? And it just kind of reminds me, gets me back to center. Then I can say, okay, what would love do? And then start my mindful practice of breath. How can we educate from your perspective on what that looks like for people in the world right now?
Well, first off, I used to be a news journalist, right?
Yes.
So I've kind of learned that actually almost the definition of a news story is something that is vanishingly unlikely to happen to you. It's on the news because it's really unlikely. And I don't want to tempt fate, but that's generally a good guide. And secondly, you need to realize that, it's not easy to cope with these things, so don't try to cope with them. Limit your media consumption. I hate to say that, because I've got loads of friends who are still news journalists.
I know, and here we are on radio, right?
Yeah.
But this is positive radio. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not that, we do need to know what's going on in the Middle East. We do need to know what's going on all over the world. But, sometimes if you're feeling overwhelmed, just check out for a few days. I mean, that's what I do. I try to limit myself to maybe 20 minutes a day of just either watching the news or, going to reputable news sources. That's the other key thing. You need to go to a reputable news source. In the UK, we've got the BBC. I don't know that much about the American news scene, CNN.
What
Maybe I'll
about
get shot for
NPR?
saying
I
that. I
don't
don't know.
NPR and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay.
NPR. That's a good one.
NPR, BBC. Yeah, both of which I would go to online if I wanted to see what was going on in the world. Mindfulness. You were also a co-author of the 2 million selling Mindfulness, an 8-week plan for finding peace in the frantic world. Of course, I'm going to just kind of noodle with the audience and let them know who we're speaking with here. He has also received journalism awards, Humane Society of the United States and Royal Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. I'd love to have that conversation too. In 2014, he won the British Medical Association's Best Book Award for You Are Not Your Pain. I'd like to have that conversation as well. This is also used in the healthcare industry. You want to have that conversation with me really quick? That'd be great.
Yeah.
Coping with anxiety and stress. Again, going back to stress and anxiety, chronic pain.
Mindfulness is actually very effective for the relief of chronic pain. Often it's not the best solution to very short-term intense pain. Conventional painkillers are great for that. But the medical profession has this real fundamental problem dealing with chronic pain, and that's where mindfulness helps. There's actually 2 aspects of pain. You get the initial data sent from the site of an injury, for example, and then the brain has to interpret that. So actually the sensations of pain are generated in the brain, and that gives you the opportunity to, in effect, turn down the amplifiers of pain in the body. And that's essentially what mindfulness does. It encourages you to decenter, as it's called, from the pain. So you learn to see pain as, it exists, it's unpleasant, it's out there, but it's actually separate from you as an individual person. So
somebody in pain right now is going, wait, what? What? That is separate. You're speaking my language, absolutely. But we've got to really unpack that, because there's somebody in pain going, what?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It sounds so glib. I understand you. If you are in pain at this moment, you are really feeling that pain. It is not something that you are making up. But what it is, it's an interpretation of signals that are sent from the site of an injury or an old injury to the brain, and then the brain creates. Now, that means, in effect, that you have a lot more control over your pain than you might believe. Now, this is not something that you can learn in 5 minutes. It's an 8-week course in You Are Not Your Pain, but gradually it helps you to reinterpret those pain signals. It probably won't get rid of 100% of the pain, but it will substantially reduce it. And the great thing is, if for example, you are suffering from arthritis, which is a really good example, or a back injury, you need to keep moving. And if you are in pain, you are frightened of moving. And that means you get trapped in a vicious cycle downwards.
Yes.
Now, what you need to do is put yourself into a positive cycle, and mindfulness can help you do that, because if the sensations of pain are lower, it means you will move. And then your body begins to function the way it was designed to function. And physical pain will gradually begin to lessen. And, so you kickstart this positive process of healing. This is not something you can learn, as I said, in 5 minutes. It's an 8-week program. But, most people gain substantial benefit from it. And it's used across the health system now in the UK, and an awful lot of American hospitals use it as well.
I love that. And it's not just, pardon me, audience, it's not just about pain. And I say just about, I don't want to diminish what's happening or happen to our listeners or anybody that's listening. That's not what this is about. It's about a deeper mindfulness and being able to get your body back into homeostasis. And Danny, like you were talking about it, and you can start changing, it's the wheel of change, or changing your body, changing your mindset, which then externally is going to have so many domino effects. You'll be able to see your experiences changes, right?
Yeah.
And then building trust. And go ahead, Danny.
Yeah. I mean, one of the really weird things about pain is when you have an initial injury, the brain focuses on it laser sharp, right? Now, as the hours turn into days and the days to weeks, the brain actually retunes itself, rewires itself to actually sense pain more effectively. Now, that sounds completely crazy. But whatever we focus on, the brain thinks we want. And it begins to reorganize itself and rewire itself to focus on that thing. Now, if you're focused on the pain all of the time, you're actually creating more and more pain sensing circuits in the brain. And what you need to do is put that cycle into reverse. And that's what mindfulness does. It allows you to put the pain that you're feeling and the suffering that you are feeling into a broader context, which means, in effect, it's diluted. And then gradually your brain becomes less fixated on the sensations of pain. Now, this process, it will begin quite fast, but as I said, you're not going to rewire your brain in 5 minutes. It takes a number of weeks to begin the process, and it is very effective. Look at the reviews of You Are Not Your Pain on your favorite book retailer, and you will find that a lot of people have gained a lot of benefit from it. And
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's and you said this earlier, Danny, when your body's in pain, or that you're in pain. And it's not that we have to convince you to pick up a book or pick up a meditation practice or pick up a mindful practice. And that's why I do this radio too. It is provide tips and tools for people to heal themselves instead of the big pill mentality, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is so important. And I joke and I say this, it's not a Safeway coupon, folks, whether, whatever, a grocery coupon in the UK. It's not. You've got everything that you need within yourself, and you've just got to get over that bridge of fear, that the initiation, whatever that is, and to decide for yourself and to advocate for yourself that you are going to heal. And you can do that starting with mindfulness. Danny, we've got to take a quick commercial break on the radio. For those of you who are joining us on the radio and would like to see us, we are on YouTube. All you have to do is go to AM 1150 KKNW on YouTube, and we're going to have a 3-minute little chit chat while we have a commercial break, and we'll be right back, you guys.
All right, all clear. Still live in the old YouTuber.
Yay! All right, thank you, Danny. I want to remind everybody about your social media. We've got the free meditation for Deeper Mindfulness. We'll talk about that on the radio, but I was going to let them know for the YouTube world as well. Franticworld.com, free meditations from Deeper Mindfulness. And then obviously more is available on www.franticworld.com and other social media. And I'm assuming that franticworld.com, and then they can go find all your other social media links, just like anything else.
I mean, my handle is the same across social media. It's at Dr. Danny Penman.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, Dr. Danny, and it's DANNY, last name PENMAN. I wanted to make sure everybody got Penman. 5 keys, insight from Deeper Mindfulness. We can talk. We've only got like 3 minutes on the YouTube channel here, but I'd like to, the rest of the hour, I'd like to have a conversation about and show also YouTubers. Will you put up your book again for us, Danny? I want people to see that.
Yes, here we go.
Yay. Look at that beauty. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You guys, obviously, in all of your book retail worlds, the Amazons, it's Amazon UK or Amazon US, wherever. Right. And you can get the book. And of course, I'm sure you can get it through your website as well. Again, the website is Dr. Danny Penman. All you guys got to do, you can just Google that as well. We are going to come back from our commercial break, and we're going to continue to talk about this beautiful little gem of a book, Deeper Mindfulness. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the 5 keys. And I think that that would be super beneficial for everybody. I mean, I've got a couple of them here. What I'd like to do is make sure that people understand that it is right there at their fingertips, right? Into the pain's not easy. That's not what I'm saying. The stress is not easy. The anxiety is not easy. And
No.
I'm not diminishing what anybody's going through. What I am saying, and this platform, is it is easy to be mindful. I know through the pain, and I walk my talk here. There's times where it's way easier to just shut it all down, and that's okay too. That's truly okay. Then you got to get back up again and be, of course.
The way I see it is it's easier than the alternative, which is living or continuing to live a life that's kind of marred.
Fortunately, I got to bring you two back in here.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Thanks, Dan.
All right, stand by.
Dun, dun, dun. Thank you.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, be safe out there, everybody. All right. Well, welcome back to the radio world. This is Sue Lundquist. If you want to get copies of the show, if you want to see us, all you have to do is go to YouTube and just type in AM 1150 KKMW. I'm talking to Danny Penman. We were just on YouTube at commercial break, noodling and talking about all of his social media platforms. So if you miss that, you guys are more than welcome to go back and listen to the whole show. But I will let you guys know all of that at the end of this show as well. We started talking about the 5 keys about deeper mindfulness. And we were talking on the commercial break about it is when you are in pain, when you are in stress, when you are in anxiety, we know it's not fun, right, Danny? I'm going to let you lead the conversation because you started to say something before when we had to come back in.
Yes. When you're anxious, stressed, depressed, any kind of mental distress at all, really, or in physical pain, it is not easy. And it's not easy in that moment, in those times, to actually begin to meditate or to restart your meditation. But it's easier than continuing to live a life that's marred by anxiety, stress, depression, or chronic pain. And, when you're in the depths of despair, it's a difficult thing to remember. That's why it's always important to just take those first tiny steps. Mindfulness has been proven now in countless clinical trials to be at least as good as drugs or counseling for the relief of the worst forms of depression, as well as anxiety and stress. It's freely available. You can download meditations from our website, Frantic World, for example. They're free. Just go away, do what you want with them. Just do your best to become a little more lighter of spirit, really.
Yes.
And
let's look at that contrast, because I know, and people that are in the whirlwind of the fear and the anxiety, all the adjectives, I call them all the adjectives to describe whatever it is, the isms for you, the fear, the anxiety, and sitting in that. And guys, look at that contrast. Do you want to stay there? Do you want to stay in the fear? Do you want to stay in the anxiety and stay in that pain? And some people will be like, their bodies are like, yes, I do, because this is what I know. And yet, it's completely different. I want to encourage, and Danny as well, encourage you to take a step back or take a deep breath and get really mindful of what's happening. And Danny was talking about this at the top of the hour as well. It's baby steps. Really baby steps. So you can then you have a foundation. You can build on those baby steps. Being really thankful too. Obviously, gratitude's a big practice for me, but that mindfulness and gratitude kind of marry each other, in my opinion. and having that mindful practice, and then being able to build on that and trusting your body and trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Danny,
Yeah.
you're Danny in the radio world. Danny's nodding his head. Yes.
I sometimes nod so much that I think maybe it makes me look a little bit crazy. So if you're watching on YouTube, I am actually a sound-minded, good character. I just nod a lot because I'm enthusiastic.
Oh, you and me both. Yeah. Let's talk about the 5 keys. Can we do that?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Now, I wrote them down and I sent them to you, and I can't remember which order I sent them to you in.
Oh, don't worry about
I'm
the
quite
order.
happy to discuss them till the end of days, but which one did I put down first?
Insight.
They don't need to be in any specific
Insight
order.
2. Well, Insight 1, we are stuck inside personal stimulation or simulation in the real world, and then mental distress.
Yeah, we are. Now,
oh, totally.
Yeah. Now, this will sound a little bit crazy, so hold on to your hats. Right.
Holding.
Yes. We make sense of the world by we have an internal model of the world, an internal simulation. And what that means in practice is we have information flowing in from our senses. Now, in the past, we thought we analyze the data, whether it's, sight, for example, and we process the images. So it's almost like a video stream that goes into the brain. We process the signals and understand it. Turns out that is completely and utterly wrong. It's 180 degrees different. What we actually do is we have this internal model, sight, for example. We're actually anticipating what our eyes are about to see. And the data that comes in from our eyes is used to check that model to make sure it's accurate. And the same, hearing is a good example, because you're having a conversation and you're mentally anticipating what that person is going to say. You're actually hearing what you think they are about to say. So if you're in the UK, somebody's talking about the Houses of P. As soon as you hear the P, you mentally factor in, you mentally hear Parliament. So Houses of Parliament. And in practice, that holds true for all of our senses. We are anticipating the data that the eyes are going to send to our minds, what we're going to hear, what we're going to smell and taste. And we create this entire world in anticipation of what we're about to experience. Now, it sounds very complicated, but it's actually more efficient and quicker and just plain easier to do it for the brain to work that way than it is to analyze all of this data streaming into our brains. So we have this model. It's constantly updated, constantly checked. Now, what can happen if we're not paying attention is the model just gradually drifts away from reality. And that is the origin of an awful lot of mental distress. We are not seeing the world as it truly is. We are seeing it as we expect it to be. And if what we expect is more negative than the reality, we experience it. We absolutely experience it, whether it's
no bueno for this kid. No. But yes, agreed.
Yeah. Now that sounds like you're making it up, but you're not. What it is your model is becoming increasingly inaccurate. Now, there is a way of recalibrating or retuning your mind so that your model is more accurate, and therefore you have a more accurate picture of the world and will hopefully become, happier, more contented, and just see the world for what it is, which is a truly magical and beautiful place.
It
now,
is.
In the ancient world, it was known as Vedana meditations, or the English translation is feeling tone. Now, these are very simple meditations, and what it does, it allows you to get in contact with the moment that the unconscious mind crystallizes into the conscious mind. And what that does is the world we kind of experience, all of our thoughts and feelings and emotions, they bubble up from the moment after we become conscious. Now, if you can tune into the moment of consciousness, you will realize that our brains actually categorize everything very simply as either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. It's a very simple, a very quick process. So everything that we experience is initially categorized as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Now, after that comes our experience, our true experience, of all of our emotions and thoughts and feelings. They're built on top of this layer known as Vedana. And so you end up with this maelstrom of thoughts, feelings, and emotions that can become increasingly, well, they can drive you nuts, quite frankly.
Yes.
And
the drunk monkey, the bad roommate.
Yeah. But if you can get in contact with those initial feeling tones, you see how you are pushed and pulled around. And that's what these meditations in our new book do. It's built on ideas that are 2,500 years old. And it's also built on the latest neuroscience. And the two just blend together so beautifully and so perfectly. And, that's wonderful. But it gives you instant or near instant relief. Once you see this process happening, once you do these meditations, you will realize just how much of your mental distress is a result of your reaction to these initial feeling tones. And this allows you to just live, a happier and more contented life.
Thank you, Danny. And I love that. And isn't it, and I equate it, or I have the analogy of the first time I realized I needed glasses to see far away. What is that? Nearsighted? I always get them confused.
Yeah.
And now I'm reluctantly using these to see up close.
I know. I've got the same problem. I've got them here too.
Yes, I know. And I'm working really hard to not train my eyes to use these, but there's times where I really have to. Where was I going with this? Putting a new pair of glasses on.
Yeah.
To the audience, it is a metaphor and it's an analogy and it's an example. Put on the new pair of glasses to be mindful for yourself, to be pain-free, or to really get into that state that it's homeostasis. I mean, it's allowing your body to be your BODY, your body, your nervous system, to be in a calm state so you can breathe, you can walk, you can get out of bed, your stresses, the adjectives to describe, aren't as harmful, I guess is the word. Harmful, stressful, the fulls.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
What I always have to remind myself, and it's good to do it on radio and YouTube as well, is
yes, please.
You are experiencing those things. That is your experience of the world. That doesn't mean it's true or accurate, but you are experiencing that unhappiness, anxiety, stress, or physical pain. But there is a way out. And that's what these Vedana or feeling tone meditations give you. It allows you to retune the way you make sense of the world. And you can make it more accurate, and therefore you will become an awful lot happier in the long run.
Yeah, why not? Why? And and for those that are spinning that wheel, of it's just been so long.
Yeah.
How can I trust that, right? And I alluded to that at the top of the hour too, because and there's so many people that are stuck on that wheel.
Yeah.
They really are. So please lean in and trust what thousands of hours and countless people that you've talked to and done meditation. You're walking the talk as well, right?
Yeah.
And I know from my personal experience with meditation, I didn't have, and I'm using this as an analogy, and for somebody, hopefully it'll ring true to them. When I first started my meditation practice, my owie, I'm just going to use that for a silly word, wasn't something I could see on my hand. It wasn't physical.
Yeah.
So I did seek out the neuroscience so I could have a tactile image of what's actually going on in my brain. So when the stresses, the fears, the anxieties, all my internal stuff that I had going on, my traumas, talk about post-traumatic stress and traumas, you don't see that on the outward shell for the most part. There's some circumstances, please, audience, I don't need an email. What I'm saying here is, in a general state, you don't always see that. And I can only speak from my experience, and I know that to be true. I was scared of everything. That my fear kept me so trapped because of my trauma. And I had to find a meditation practice. And I also had to, I couldn't see my owie go away, is what I'm saying. So I had to seek out the neuroscience to see the neural pathways changing a habit, and I thought that was, and I think neuroscience and getting into the neuroscience is super sexy and juicy because there's so much foundation for it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. And, I now, because I've been doing the practice, obviously it's an everyday practice. I can, even in my waking state, and I can immediately see where my body, or feel where my body, there's a little, there it is. And I can go in there and I can say, no, that's not true. We're going to release that. Right.
Yeah. Well, this is it. This is what's wonderful about feeling tone meditations, because these
I love that feeling tone meditation. I love that.
Yeah. Well, you can feel them, you can really pay attention to them in your body. And that's what surprised me most. I've been meditating for, decades. And then when I started to learn these feeling tone meditations, I suddenly realized that the most tremendous kind of power and feelings and emotions were rooted in my body, and they would just flow up. I could feel them as powerful physical sensations. And I'd never noticed them before. If I did certain meditations like body scan meditation, I could feel, I'd get in contact with my physical body, with my physical being. But as soon as I started doing these feeling tone meditations, I realized that how they just would sweep constantly over my body. Everything that would appear in my mind was mirrored in my body. Every flicker of anxiety or stress, it would be rooted in my body. Happiness I could feel it all over. And to me, that was a really profound discovery. These things are incredibly powerful.
And I love what you're saying too, Danny. You've been doing this for decades, and you have found something that has upped the game for you. And to share that with the audience and providing that, not only in your book, but also you've got free meditations on the website. I want to remind everybody, we've got about 10 minutes, but I want to just remind everybody how to get a hold of you, and then we'll swing back into the conversation. There are free meditations from Deeper Mindfulness, and you can do that, and you can get most everything at franticworld.com. And that's franticworld.com. You can /free meditation. Most of Dr. Danny's website is Dr. Danny Penman, and that's Penman for the radio world. And it's Dr. DANNY Penman, PENMAN. For those of you driving, please do not try and write that down. It'll all be on social media, and we'll get it up on the YouTube. But we have been talking for the last, almost hour here about really getting into your body and overcoming the pain. Danny has graciously told us about his own experience through navigating his pain and living that truth, and then being able to provide homeostasis and healing within his body, then to provide that with the healing mental capacities and the doctors of the world, literally in the UK and the US, which thank you very much. So on the audience, I would like to just talk to you about, if Danny is doing this for the medical institutions, why are you not doing it for yourself? Right? There's thousands and thousands of hours of data and information about this, mindfulness, breath work, I just love hearing feeling tones. And it's almost like authentic and genuine is like a anchoring words for me, and feeling tones feels like that. It just,
yeah. It's just that deep tone of the feeling. You know, one of the things that lots of people find strange, but I love, is these feeling tones probably originated in the earliest forms of life, because, you know, amoeba, bacteria, whatever, they need a means of identifying and moving towards, the good things, the pleasant things,
right.
Nutrition.
They're going to move
life.
towards the good, and they're not, and there's got to be a vibration, right?
That's
the
So they move towards the pleasant things, away from the unpleasant things. And if everything's okay, well, they just sit there and soak it up and enjoy it. And to me, that is the foundation stone of life. You know, it's almost one of the things that distinguishes life from a piece of rock, for example.
But it's that space that, Danny, it's that space right there. And I've got to put a pin in it for the audience that says, in that space of everything's okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to stay wrapped up in that drama and go, oh, I got to be doing this, or feeling guilty because I'm not, or shame, going down that rabbit hole. No, the little amoebas, they're like, it was a yes or a no. They discern, and then they sat. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And the thing is, what we as humans do, because most of us are a bit more sophisticated than amoeba, is we build on that. And first came emotions, higher, or animals and creatures further up the evolutionary ladder, or whatever you want to believe. They developed emotions to guide them, so they built on emotions are built on top of feeling tones, and then thoughts come after that, which is what the world we deal with most of the time. So everything is built on top of these very simple processes, and this is the root of our problems. If we can get to grips with that base layer, with our feeling tones, and just simply feel them and see the way they're pushing and pulling us around, we can regain control over our lives. And it takes perseverance, but it's not complicated or difficult in any way. In fact, the meditations in our new book, Deeper Mindfulness, are purposely designed to be simpler and easier than the traditional mindfulness meditations. They're very pure and very simple, and they can be done pretty much anywhere.
Oh, I love this conversation, Danny, and thank you. You know what's coming up for me, and obviously because it's advocating for the audience, is, I can't meditate. No, I can't. I don't know how to do it. No, I can't sit still long enough. Let's have that conversation for those, because there's many people that I have run into that, no, I can't do that. It's just not for me.
Yeah, you don't need to meditate. It's as simple as that, really. What you can gain most of the benefits, or even all of the benefits, from these Vedana, these feeling tone practices, by learning to sense them in your body and learning to feel how they push and they pull you around. So whilst it is preferable that you spend 10 or 20 minutes a day meditating, once you've learned these basic practices, you can learn to sense them, these feeling tones, all of the time. And in fact, I spend far more time feeling those feeling tones as I'm going about my daily life, cooking, walking, cycling, just generally being alive. I spend more time sensing those feeling tones and how much control they have over my life than I do whilst meditating. Meditation is kind of the bedrock. It is good to do.
The practice. It's the practice.
It's good to practice. It's good to practice,
for sure.
But it's not necessary.
Yes. And, I've also, in the audience, has heard this before. A meditation could be you walking in the garden. Meditation could be you playing racquetball. It could be your paragliding. It could be shooting hoops, basketball. It could be wherever your body feels at peace.
Mindfulness. Mindfulness is really, it is paying full conscious awareness to whatever is going on around you and inside your body. And these feeling tone mindfulness practices just take that one step deeper, one step
Love
further
that.
upstream,
Ah,
and they're correspondingly more powerful.
I love it. All right, Danny, we've got just a couple more minutes. I was checking my clock. I'm going to remind everybody how to get a hold of you. And, you know, I love this. Feeling tones. World, feeling tones. Get in touch with your feeling tones. Free meditation from Deeper Mindfulness can be found at www.franticworld.com/free meditation. And then, of course, more is available at www.franticworld.com. All the social media links, if you want to research, get in touch with, look at, whether you're in the UK, because I've got a lot of people in the UK and Australia and Mexico. Please just go to drdannypenman.com, and that's DrDannyPenman. And just look for all the information about being a brilliant self. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Dr. Danny Penman, that's the handle across social media.
Yep.
The website is franticworld.com. And just go to the resources section and have a nose around. Just look around, take what you want.
Yes, go noodle around, nose around. I love that. Yeah. We have got just about 3 more minutes. You know what? I thank you, first of all, for bringing this into the world. You know, something that was coming up for me, because US, I swear, we're just tardy. We're just tardy, because it sounds like you've been doing the meditation for so much longer, you know, and it feels as though the US, we, over these last few years, maybe it's been a decade, that they have integrated meditation practice or mindful practice into the schools and the education, which I'm like, hallelujah, you know, it should be, it should be like brushing teeth. We should be talking about this. We should be applying this in school and for the teachers in the educational institutions, right?
Yeah. And I think what's most important is not that students are taught it, it's that they're taught it by enthusiastic teachers. You know, if the teachers aren't into it, they are genuinely wasting their time, because they're just going through the motions. The kids will pick that up. They're not going to be interested unless the teacher's interested and motivated. You know, the kids just aren't going to learn.
Well, that's an analogy for parents and everybody, right?
Yeah. You know, it's it's like if you have a cookery teacher who has no interest at all in cooking, you know, they're just, all they ever do is just go to a takeaway and, you know, just pick up any old rubbish from a supermarket. You know, the children are going to pick that up, aren't they?
Yeah.
Why bother learning to cook? And it's the same with mindfulness. You know, there's been a few studies now to see, you know, what makes the difference, and it is enthusiastic teachers. It's as simple as that, you know. And I learned meditation when I was 16 or 17 by a teacher who was really enthusiastic. We got fired up. We did it for the rest of our lives because we could see how good it was. And, you know, however many decades later, you know, we ended up writing, mindfulness, finding peace in a frantic world.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Really quick, we've got just a couple more minutes. Well, 1 more minute, actually. What are you thankful for?
Right now, I'm thankful that, as far as I can tell, I've got 2 happy and healthy children and a very happy and healthy wife. And for some reason, I'm always very superstitious about tempting fate, especially on Halloween.
Oh, gosh, yes, that's society. Well, Danny, thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but at this moment, I'm just very thankful that everybody seems to be happy and healthy.
Wonderful. Likewise. And for all of those out there, yes. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and play with us on the radio today, and appreciate your wisdom, your practice, and the education that you're providing. And for all of you, please go out and pick up the book. Let's get those feeling tones in our bodies and have peace, have calm, have homeostasis, have love, all that juicy stuff that I've talked to you guys about. Dr. Danny, thank you so much. Benny, thank you. Happy Halloween. And
Yes.
for those of you out there in the world, I love you. We'll see you next week. And each of you are a gift. Get out there and share yourself with the world.